Russell Martin obviously gone. And I think relief among the Rangers support, a bit of anger towards those who appointed him in the first place. So, what are your guys' thoughts? The right decision made eventually?
I don't know if me and Andy's got another manager search in us, Douglas, to be honest.
I don't know if the Rangers support does, Scott.
I can't believe we're in this position again. Look, ultimately, I think this has been brewing for a while. Obviously, I think most of us thought it would have been done before now. Results and performances have been nowhere near good enough, both domestically and in Europe. But it did feel like the weekend, even before the Falkirk game, to me anyway, it felt like that was pivotal. After the Sturm Graz game, and even after Livingston needing a last minute winner to beat Livy, getting up against another newly promoted team away from home, I certainly felt going into the game that if Rangers dropped any more points, that would be it for Russell Martin. And that's not even mentioning the kind of the fan fury surrounding him in terms of the kind of hardcore support, making it pretty clear they wanted him and others out. So the way the game went on Sunday, me and Andy were there, it felt like at full time, it definitely felt as if the writing was on the wall. I think you're right. I think the mood did change after Sturm Graz. I think crucially, those videos that appeared of fans kind of confronting Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart in the team hotel, I do think that would have had an impact on the decision making. But ultimately, I think it has to be the right decision. I mean, look, Rangers are sitting at 8th in the Premiership. Well, 9 points behind Celtic, 11 behind Hearts. Already lost their opening 2 Europa League games. The recruitment's seriously getting called into question when you look at the performances and the standards that these players are setting at the minute. So I must admit, I don't know if Andy feels the same. I feel for Russell Martin just on a personal level because I think he's a decent guy. I think he's an honest guy. The kind of limited dealings I had with him both in press conferences and away from that, I always found him really good to deal with. But I felt this when he got appointed, that he just wasn't, maybe wasn't the type of character, the type of manager that Rangers needed. We all know this club demands a certain type of personality, and I just didn't feel like the right fit, and that's the way it's gone. So I think the decision had to be made. It's only 122 days. It is hard to believe we're back in this position again. And for me, the big question now is that there should be real scrutiny on the people who appointed Russell Martin, and real question marks over whether you would trust them to get the right guy next time.
I think so. I was just going to say, from my point of view, I think the thing that will gall the Rangers supporters most was that all the things that they pointed to of why this appointment has failed, they were saying that from day dot. Russell Martin had to come in his first day in the job at his unveiling press conference and answer to the fact that the fans weren't having him from day one. And so the fact is that they made clear, they pointed out to the board, they pointed out to Kevin Thelwell, to Patrick Stewart, that they didn't believe he was a candidate that deserved a job of this stature. I remember sitting in Hotline Live back in the summer saying this was a guy who, and I agree with Scott, I did find him on a personal level really good to deal with. He would answer your questions. Yeah, he would get. There was a couple of occasions he got a wee bit short with some questions, but I think that was just a sign of the strain he was under. I think generally speaking, he was very good from our point of view in the media to deal with. But I think, I remember saying, he's a guy he's a manager who wins as many games as he loses. And that has basically been his record at Rangers. 5 wins in 17 games. I think there's 6 draws in there as well, 7 draws in there, something like that. So, I didn't see from a football point of view that he was he had the pedigree that was deserving of this kind of job. But the board, in their wisdom, decided to press ahead, decided to go with them. They wanted to implement a style of football. They wanted to take it down a radical path, a radically different path from what they'd been trying before, what the previous regimes had tried before. For me, it was too much too soon. You know, they didn't have the players. They didn't have the culture at the club in terms of this is how we play football. They've tried to knock it out of the park. A bit like the previous board did with Pedro Caixinha, they've taken a swing at something, hoping to go totally in the opposite direction of where the club is at right now. And I think what you saw previously when Steven Gerrard got the job is that these things take time. You have to build. You have to gradually put the foundations in place and build on top of that. And I think that's what they'll have to do now. If they're going to bring in somebody in, I don't think they can bring in another, Pep Guardiola type that's going to try and a radical possession-based game plan, because they simply don't have the players there to do it. It's one thing, Russell Martin was adamant it wasn't the tactics, it was down to mentality. But if you've not got the mentality in the squad to deal with the tactics, then it is about the tactics. And this is where Russell Martin fell down. I think you saw latterly towards, let's say latterly, it was only, 122 days, Scott says. You saw late on in his short-lived reign that there was times where he was basically just throwing out his principles, throwing mud at a wall and hoping something would stick, and it didn't. This is why Rangers manager of all time, arguably, well, I think he is. I think he goes down now as the worst manager in the club's history. As I say, nobody wants to say that, but I think the stats, the figures, was it 1 win out of 7 in the league, a record-equaling Champions League defeat, 2 defeats in the Europa League. As I say, no other manager has been in and out of the job as quickly as he is. I can't see how you can paint it as anything other than that.